Welcome to Ontario East Matters. I'm here with the General Manager of Peterborough County's Economic Development Office, the County of Peterborough, Rhonda Keenan.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay.
Rhonda, it's great to see you here and have you here. We want to learn a bit more about Peterborough County. We've talked about the City of Peterborough. Fortunately, they share the same name, but for some of our audience, they might think they're one and the same. But tell us a little bit about the County of Peterborough and your involvement with economic development.
Certainly. So Peterborough County is about 90 minutes northeast of Toronto. It's about 64,000 people and residents. We have 8 different townships that comprise Peterborough County, and we wrap ourselves and hug the City of Peterborough. And so you really can't get to the City of Peterborough without going into Peterborough County first. But it's a very collaborative relationship between the two parties. We have a lot of complementary spaces and niches that seem to work really well together.
And Peterborough County, tell us your history with the County of Peterborough. Are you from Peterborough County?
Well, originally I'm from a community just a little bit west of here, but we've always had as a cottage in this area, and so it's always sort of been my home destination that I'd like to get to retire. And so when there was an opportunity in Peterborough to do economic development here, I jumped at the chance and have been here ever since. And yeah, it's been quite a while of doing economic development in both Peterborough City and County, and now just specializing in the county.
You know, and that is one of the draws for Eastern Ontario. We are cottage country recreation right across the region, and it brings people here to enjoy what we have to offer, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, but also the economy. And Peterborough County is a contributor to Eastern Ontario's economy. Tell me a bit about what types of business or industries are involved in Peterborough County.
Well, and I think just to back up, I think a little bit on being 90 minutes away, we have direct access to Highway 407 now and 115. And so that geography between the Greater Toronto Area, Durham region has really shrunk. And so Peterborough County benefits from a lot of that, closing that gap and access to the Toronto and Durham markets. But Peterborough County itself has 3 really strong sectors. Agriculture is one of our biggest points of pride. As well as small-scale manufacturing, and of course with cottage country, it is a great tourism destination as well. And so between all 3 of those things, we're seeing a lot of growth opportunities.
You know, agriculture is so important to Ontario as a whole. It rivals some of the other industries with its GDP. What type of products or livestock do you see in Peterborough County?
So the rolling hills, which make it a beautiful place to be here, certainly lends itself to grazing animals as traditional in Peterborough County. But there's a lot of different crops and services that are grown here. What we're starting to see are value-added products being added to farms, and so we're a great maple syrup destination. We certainly have a lot of cattle. We have sheep, lambs. It's a growing, changing dynamic as well too. We're starting to see more agritourism components with our alpacas and things like that. So it's definitely a very diverse sector that we have. Again, we have a large scale poultry operations as well.
You know, you mentioned 90 minutes with the Highway 407 coming right up to the main highway that leads into Peterborough County. Sometimes I find it's almost 70 minutes and you're into the Greater Toronto Area. So we are on the eastern end of, western end of Eastern Ontario. What is the advantage of being in close proximity to a big city when it comes to employment? And you mentioned throughout the 8 townships of Peterborough County, there's a variety of industries. They're not all tourism related, a lot of manufacturing as well, providing to companies both in the city of Peterborough and into the region. But what's the big advantage that you see? Why would a company want to locate into the Peterborough County area?
Well, what we like to say is that business gets balance in Peterborough County, that you get to leave that hustle and bustle of the concrete jungle behind. You still get all of the amenities of a big city with technology and infrastructure, hospitals, housing, post-secondary education institutions, all of those things that really make a vibrant economy. But then you also get the tourism side where you actually get to unplug and enjoy nature for what it's there for. And so I think that balance of having both all the assets as well as the downtime really is something that makes us special.
So Peterborough County is the heart of the Kawarthas. The land of shining waters was a loose term from the indigenous name for the region. How important is tourism? And you mentioned agritourism, general tourism. There is a bit of a push to get people to stay in Ontario. Obviously, people from our region love traveling around the world. A lot of people are staying a little closer to home. What's Peterborough County doing to get people to come and visit and stay in the Kawarthas?
So the Kawarthas is a great destination. It was certainly something that drew me to the area to even want to work here. But I think we're home to the National Historic Trent Severn Waterway, boating, access to the water. That is something that is always attracting individuals. We receive and welcome about 3 million visitors every single year. They spend about $300 million in our economy. A lot of that is in the summer time in that main visitor destination, but what we're starting to see is more infrastructure being spent and trying to extend that tourism season beyond just the summer. The Canadian Canoe Museum, although that's in the city of Peterborough, we consider it a regional asset, a national asset to attract visitors year-round to learn a little bit more about the area. And I think because the Trent Severn Waterway, it's part of the Great Loop, and so we do have a lot of loopers and boaters coming to do that and stay in Peterborough while they're doing so.
So the Trent Severn flows right through Peterborough County, several of the northern townships, right through the city, as you mentioned, and down through another township before it gets down to Lake Ontario, right down from Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. You mentioned the Canadian Canoe Museum, and this region was a canoe building area. That was the main mode of transportation back when white pine was being harvested, and the First Nations obviously were using that as a mode of transportation. That Canadian Canoe Museum is an amazing facility located right on lake on the Trent Severn. Tell us a bit about how you work with a group like that to bring people in, and it certainly is a Canadian destination. And those who aren't canoeists might think, well, why would someone care? But it's got some fascinating stories to tell.
It is fascinating, and I love the work that they've done. They really took their time, and I think really stopped to tell the story well. They are looking at Indigenous relations and how that has changed over the time through the Trent Severn Waterway development. That there are some harsh stories that they have done an excellent job in trying to share and showcase and tell in a deliberate and intentional way. But it's a beautiful facility. It allows so many people to get together, and what better way on the waterway to talk about paddlecraft? It always seemed a little odd that you would have a canoe museum not on the water, and so now that it's in its rightful home, we're able to showcase how visitors are coming, how they can connect with the waterway, but it also sets us up to be able to say, while you're at this canoe museum, travel along the waterway and see all of the small towns and what they have to offer. Each one has its own personality. You can stop at some breweries and some roadside cafes, and it's just a nice little experience. If you're a biker and a paddlist, that's nice because you can do cycling tours as well as paddling tours, so you can enjoy both aspects of the county and get out and
enjoy what all it has to offer.
Enjoy that we have everything to offer, yes.
Now, I believe you have an office right beside the waterway in Lakeville, Ontario. Tell us a bit about the services provided by your team and how you could help a company looking to grow or come to the County of Peterborough.
So the County of Peterborough has 8 different townships, and so we do have our tourism office operating in Lakefield, a historic, beautiful little downtown. And it's a dynamic main street, and so we do offer tourism services for anybody wanting to come there. We are also looking at mobile services so that we can get out and be present in every single township within the community, and so not just have one location. We're trying to figure out how do we spread ourselves out, because we have 4,000 square kilometers to cover in Peterborough County. It's not a small space, and so we want to make sure that we are showcasing all that it has to offer. It's also a good chance for us to talk to our local businesses in each of the communities and say, you know, what's important to you? How do we help you grow? What's happening on the ground? And we're finding that that's a great place for us to start those conversations, starting in Lakefield and then expanding out. In what Peterborough County wanted to create was a hub and spoke model, so that wherever you are able to get support as a small business in the county.
One of the other assets in the county, it has to do with schools and training, and a rather famous private school is actually in Lakefield, Lakefield College School. It's been there for decades, and obviously people from around the world would know about it. Not everybody is fully aware, but it really attracts some high-profile families and people, and it's been a great contribution. Along with Lakefield College School, what other institutions are available to help a company or people that might want to move into the area?
Lakefield actually is in Dummer Township, despite its name, but we still welcome them and consider them a county. And they attract students from around the globe, and so they are a huge asset for us to talk to, introducing potential investors into the region, because they get a glimpse of that dynamic of all the amenities, exceptional service, beautiful setting, and tranquility. But we also know in Peterborough County that nobody does anything alone, and so we want to make sure that we're partnering. We partner with Fleming College and Trent University. We have a number of research projects that are underway. We partner with our neighbors in City of Kawartha Lakes as a different community as well, because we know it's strength in numbers. And so we build our programming. As an example, one of our programs that we built is trying to create an aggregation and food hub for our farmers to be able to say, give us new avenues for them to sell their product to new markets. And so working together, creating almost our own assets is really what we do best in Peterborough County.
That leads into why we're here today talking about all of Eastern Ontario, 13 counties and 10 cities. And working collaboratively is so important, but having a community that has a university, a college, private schools, public schools, what does that bring to the table when you're trying to attract a new investor, a new company into your region? Is it important to have those assets to help populate their workforce? Are you involved in any activity with that?
Absolutely, 100%. Those assets are really important, and I think we like to borrow more assets, and I think it's a strength in numbers. With Loyalist College, with Durham College, Ontario Tech U, as well as Fleming and Trent, they have so many great programs that all complement each other. And so what's wonderful is that you're able to pick and choose the specific needs of that company that we're talking to say, we need to connect you with this university, we need to connect you with this college program. Workforce is always going to be a number one priority for any business that's looking to come in. And so we say, we have these great programs, we have that personal relationship with the key folks in each of those institutions to be able to say, let's match you up, what do you need, let's hand deliver it for you.
As I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking I still have Lakefield in mind, it's kind of in the middle of Peterborough County. You also have a world-class mining research company there, SGS Research. So give us a bit of history on that.
So SGS was you probably know
Lakefield Research.
Lakefield Research, thank you. And then European investors coming in and SGS Global. But they have some fascinating research capabilities, but they also partner with Trent, and somehow with all of the chemistry graduates that are coming out and environmental science graduates that are coming out, there is that natural tendency to work together to showcase how students are coming in because they like the campus at Trent, but now the programming actually aligns with SGS.
And they're connected to one of the only nepheline cyanide mines that's been operating in Peterborough County for probably 70 years. So mining is something that I believe has a future in the region as well.
Absolutely, and that continues to grow. And there's again, technology is changing how mining is done and how it's shared. But I think SGS, with their research capabilities after the effect, is certainly a good combination to show how businesses in the county are able to connect and work together. And
we hear about the future in critical minerals. It's so important. We're critically out of time,
okay,
but I want to ask one last question. Your involvement with the Ontario East Economic Development Commission, and what value do you see as being part of this organization?
I think Ontario East allows us to amplify our voice. We're too small on our own, but together we're much stronger. And so there's tools, there's resources that are available that we are able to use as being members. But I think probably the biggest part that I find value in Ontario East is learning from each other. There is so much that is happening, and somebody somewhere within the Ontario East network has either done it, felt it, tried it, either succeeded or failed at it, and you can learn those lessons. And everyone there is there collaboratively. Yes, we have competition, but also at the same time, we're there to support for the entire region.
Very well said, and yes, all our communities work together, but they will compete to give the best deal to any investor wanting to come to the region. Rhonda, Keenan, County of Peterborough, thanks for joining us. Wish you all the best going forward.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Ontario East Matters.